Good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to our class. We start off with, in the morning, we did finish off with our topic on the coding, the source document and coding, okay, which was, I think, was a pretty straightforward topic, okay, no much complication. So today, or right now, I want us to start off with another topic called cost units, cost classification, and profit reporting. Okay, that's what I want us we discuss. Cost units. At the end of the day, okay, maybe do a simple introduction. At the end of the day, as a company, you have to evaluate, okay, or rather, you have to discern how do we, what is, or how do we charge our customer based on the cost we incur in providing either the service or the commodity that we are engaged in, okay? Because at the end of the day, a cost unit, okay, the best way of trying to determine what is a cost unit is to determine what cost is like the cost collection, okay? How do you charge your customer, okay? You charge your customer in case you are maybe it's like it's Strathmore University, okay? How do you charge your customer? In this case, we are a student, okay? You charge them, for example, based on the units they're taking, okay? You charge them based on the course they're taking, okay? If they're taking maybe CCA, okay, there's the amount they're meant to pay. If they take CPA, there's the amount they pay. And if they take CCA, if they take one unit, then they pay X amount of money, okay? If they take 2 units, then you charge them Y amount of money, okay? So at the end of the day, when it comes to charging of your costs, when it comes to charging your customer, okay, how do you charge them? Okay, in case you are a restaurant, okay, how do you charge your customer based on the meal they take? Okay, based on in case you're a hotel, how do you charge your customer based on the nights they spend in the company in the hotel? Okay. And of course, depending on what transfer they're taking, do they go full board? Okay, do they do half board? Do they just do bed and breakfast? Okay, so you charge them based on the different way. Okay, they're diverse way of, for example, charging the customer. So a cost unit. Okay, the best way of identifying a cost unit is simply determining how do we charge the customer? How do we accumulate our costs? Okay, which means therefore this will be influencing how we charge our customer. Now, cost classification is simply how can we group? Okay, how can we put costs in different classes? Okay, for example, you can have costs that are maybe variable. Okay, or called variable costs. What's a variable cost? Okay, cost where we expect that it will be increasing as we do increase the number of units that we sell. Okay, for example, the material, okay, if you are, for example, Unilever, okay, as you do make more of the custom products, okay, the soap or the omo, okay, don't forget you'll be requiring more material, okay. If you're going to go make 10 units of omo, okay, the cost, if you're going to make 10, okay, and you're to make 100, of course, the cost of material for the 100 is much more greater the cost of material for 10 units, okay. The cost it varies with the units we are producing. Okay, it's a variable cost. Okay, so we shall discuss that at the case of cost classification. Okay, then discuss therefore how do we report profit. Okay, we shall end the topic by discussing how therefore do we report profit. Okay, what are the different ways available to us as a company to report the profit that you're making. Okay, there are 2 ways. Okay, one is called the marginal costing method. And called the absorption costing method. Okay, so the 2 methods you can use. Okay, when it comes to profit reporting. Okay, we shall discuss each one of them, and of course, what are the advantages of absorption? What are advantages of the use of the marginal costing method? Okay, let's begin by the first bit of the topic, that is the cost unit. Okay. Now, first is recognize the cost you're incurring. Okay. First is you as a company recognizing if we are Strathmore University, an example, okay, what cost do we incur in ensuring that our students are going to receive maybe the best quality education possible, okay? We do, for example, have to have lecturers for sure. We have administrators who are meant to ensure that the class are run smoothly, okay? We need classes themselves, okay? we do need to pay for maybe data for our students. Okay, so at the end of the day, how do you as Strathmore University, okay, what cost do you incur? Okay, of course, which will be influencing the amount you'll be charging the student for the service that you do provide to them. Okay, for example, suppose that you have a newspaper, okay, that goes for 60, okay, the selling price is 60, okay. Why does the agent charge 60 for it? Okay, of course, you're trying to way of trying to work backward, okay, because definitely out of the 60 is a profit that this particular agent is going to earn, okay. So if, for example, the agent earn a profit of 10, okay, we can see therefore the cost is incurring is the selling price, which is 60, minus the markup of 10. Therefore, the cost for this particular news agent therefore is 50. Okay. So if you work backward of it, then you're going to end up with a cost to the agent of 50. But don't forget, this is the agent. Okay. We do have the newspaper print media company. Okay. They made a sale at 50. Well, don't forget, they already have made a profit on themselves. Okay. Which implies therefore that the 50 might not be the real cost of printing and distributing this newspaper, okay, because they have the news paper itself company, okay, has made a profit already, okay. So instead we not charge more for the case, okay, there's a newspaper, okay, that we buy, okay. Don't forget, if for example, okay, the amount, let me give an example to make it easy, okay. Let me just do that example. We have, okay, my writing material. Give me a second. Here it is. Okay, if for example, let's see that example of the newspaper. Okay, you see that here we have the agent. Okay, the agent sells at 60. Okay, is it 60? The purchase price, the amount that he is required to pay or he has paid, okay, to the printing company. Okay, the purchase price is equal to 50. Okay, so this is in shillings. Is equal to 50. Okay. Therefore, the markup, or let's say the profit, is equal to 50. Okay, equal to 50. Don't forget, this agent definitely he or she incur costs when it comes to providing the particular service, providing this newspaper to people. Okay, so for example, he has some assistants. Okay, an example. Okay, assistant salary. He has some assistants. Okay, and they pay a salary equivalent, for example, to the shillings per paper that they normally sell. Okay, he pays rent. Okay, he has a place where he sells his papers at. Okay, so there's rent that he pays, which is equal to, for example, 5 shillings. Because therefore, if we are to take into account all the entire costs that this person is incurring, then therefore, what is remaining, taking care of the expenses, is 10 minus 3 minus 5 to give us 2. Okay, because therefore, 2 is only referred to we deem as the pure profit. Okay, the pure profit to this particular person equal to the 2 shillings. Okay, per paper. Okay, but don't forget all these are costs. Okay, that for this person is incurring 3, incurring 5, and also incurring 50. Okay, our total cost equal to 50 plus 3 plus 5 will give us therefore 58 shillings be the total cost. Okay, the selling price 60, therefore net to give us therefore the 2 Kenya shilling. Okay. Now the cost unit, okay, that's we had mentioned previously. Now cost is a unit of product or service to which the cost can be related. Okay, it is possible. Okay. It is possible for us to be able to say that we did incur a cost, okay, or it is possible for you to relate the cost to that particular product, okay, to that particular service, okay. But in case, for example, it's about, let's say, Strathmore, the case of Strathmore University, okay. Because that the unit, okay, that again you take, okay, for example, you take MA1, you take FA1. Okay, those are units that are being offered. Okay, and for each one of them, you pay a given amount of money. Okay, so is it possible for us to relate the costs we incur in ensuring that, for example, MA1 is provided for? Okay, so first thing, okay, quantify the space the student normally occupy. Okay, for that particular class. Okay, how many classes do we have in a week? Okay, 4 classes. Okay, what is the amount of rent we pay? Okay, for that particular, for every hour the students are in the hall, for example. Okay, how much do we pay as lecturer for each of the class that they appear? Okay, so all those costs we have to therefore accumulate them. Okay, so since it is possible for you to relate the unit to the cost, okay, by unit I mean the subject you're taking. Okay, you can be able to relate it to this particular subject. Okay, therefore you can say for the subject can be deemed to be the cost unit. Okay, which means therefore you're going to be charging the customer based on that cost rate which you have been able to identify. In this case, therefore, the subject, the student is taking. If the cost is going to be different, okay, then the cost will also be different. Okay, and that time also you're going to be charging a different fee based on the cost the student is taking. Okay, and the cost may be more expensive. Okay, because maybe the space they occupy is a bit premium. Okay, the lecturers that are hired that are assigned is more. They paid more. They're more expensive to hire those lecturers. So they're from. Okay, the cost unit is where you can be able to accumulate the cost. Okay, and charge instead of the customer. This is the cost I've incurred. Okay, in ensuring you do receive the product or the service. Okay, so on top of that, I'll charge you a profit. Okay, it is possible to accumulate the cost, okay, and tell the student, hey, to ensure that we are able to give you or to be able to give the service to you of being taught, let's say MA1, okay, there's a cost you have incurred, okay, maybe per student the cost is, let's say, 10,000, okay. Of course, we have to make a surplus out of you, okay. For example, we make a surplus of how much? Maybe 3,000. Then how much do we charge you? We're going to charge you, therefore, 13,000 per unit. Okay, so we call a cost unit. It is possible, okay, for you to be able to accumulate the cost and be able to charge a customer on that cost unit. If it is not possible to charge a customer based on include that cost unit, then that's not a cost unit. Okay. If it is not, it should be possible that you can tell the customer there is a cost of incurred in ensuring you do receive A, B, C, and D. Okay. If you can't charge a customer on that unit, you're calling it a unit, then that's not a cost unit. It should be possible for you to charge a customer based on that unit. If not, then that's not a unit. Okay, that's not a cost unit. For example, okay, a room in a hotel. I think I mentioned that. I've mentioned this already. Okay? But generally, in case you are a hotel, definitely you may be able to determine that for us to be able to host one person in this particular room, okay, then this is a cost we do incur, okay, which means therefore we can't be able to design our costing system to charge our customer based on the cost we're incurring in ensuring we do provide the necessary service. Okay, the cost of electricity that we do have backup, maybe backup power supply, which we incur cost. We have securities. Okay, we have the different laundry services that we do incur. So all those costs, it is possible to accumulate the cost and tell the customer, there's a cost I've incurred in ensuring that I've made the product to you, okay, in ensuring that the service is provided, okay, and of course you charge them based on that. Okay. The other thing, for example, is a batch of, for example, in case you're a butter, okay, and you make shoes, okay, so of course you make them in batches, okay, but you can be able to pinpoint here, there's a cost I incurred in making this batch of 1,000 shoes. So I can charge my customer who is going to buy this 1,000 shoes, okay. Of course, the patient, okay, how many nights does a patient spend in the hospital, okay? They have spent 10 days, okay? How much do we charge per night, okay? We charge them 3,000 per night, okay? So it is possible for you to tell me, therefore, what the cost that we shall be charging the customer based on the night they have spent in the hospital, okay? Over and above, definitely, on, for example, the amount of the medicines and the different drugs they have spent, but you can also charge them based on the nights they have spent in the hospital, okay? That's been therefore a cost unit. Okay. When it comes to determining what is the cost, therefore, we shall be incurring to ensure we can provide the good or the service to our customers, okay, you have to get what called the cost information, okay? You have to get accurate cost information. If you still remember the features of good management information, okay, this has to come in place. This has to come in play also, okay? That the cost information will have to be concerning the resource we're going to be using, okay? If we are Strasbourg University, okay, we want to determine how much cost do we incur in providing this particular unit, okay? Determine therefore what resource is being utilized by our student, okay? They're using the rooms, they're using the internet, okay? They're using what is like this, okay? Are they using the cafeteria, okay? There's some cost we do incur along the way, okay? They use the general admin services, okay? Which of course is not part of lecturing fee, okay? There's cost of lecturer. So you can't be able to pinpoint that this is the resource that have been used in order to ensure this particular commodity, this particular product has been made to the customer, okay? And of course, therefore, determining how many of the material, how much of the material, okay, have been used in that particular, in providing the particular service, okay? Because if you're going to have a course, for example, that is going to take 1 month, and a course that is going to take 4 months, then for sure, you charge more for a course that is going to take 4 months, because the customer is going to use more of your resource for an extra period, a longer period, compared to a 1 month course, okay, for example. Called cost information, okay? So it's important to quantify, okay, what costs you shall be incurring, okay? Be they for labor, for material themselves, okay? Other overheads that the company is incurring, the cost of electricity, the admin costs. So all those costs, all those resources that the company is going to be using to ensure they're able to provide, okay, the commodity, the good or the service, okay? So referred to as the cost information. Okay. Now, when it comes to therefore determining, okay, the process, let me call the course in quote, the process of setting up the process of cost, getting the cost information. Okay, how do we? What are the steps we go through? Okay, the first thing, of course, is about setting a selling price. Okay, the example I just given in the case of a retailer. Okay, you as a retailer of, let's say, the newspapers, okay, you have to determine, I'm going to buy this commodity at 50, okay. There is no therefore I can sell for price lower than 50, okay, because you're a commercial enterprise in that sense, okay. Therefore you have to therefore begin by setting a price, okay, depending on what system you use, okay. So in case, for example, your costing is based on what call is market driven, okay, your price is market driven, okay. What that means is that it is a market that can be dictated. It is a market that is going to be dictating how much it is paid, okay. So you begin with the market, okay. Even before you start setting the price, you begin with the market, okay. Therefore, determine therefore as per the market, okay, how much is it willing to buy this commodity at, okay. It is willing to buy at, let's say, $60, okay. Then go backward, okay. So if the price the market is willing to pay is $60 and I'm paying $70, then does it make sense for me? Now you go to step number 2, you make a decision, okay. Is it worthwhile for us, for example, to continue to make as per what the market wants? The price the market is paying is 60. The cost I'm incurring in making this commodity is 70. Then it might not make sense for you to continue or to even start up production of that new commodity, okay. However, if the market is willing to pay a price, maybe let's say at 80, and the cost you're incurring is 70, then now you can be able to make a decision, okay? That I'm making a profit of $10 because I'll be incurring a cost of 70, a selling price of 80. So for every 1 unit, okay, I do have a profit of $10, okay? The next question is that, are there some other costs I might be incurring, okay? Not just on is this $10 in quote, the pure profit, okay? If, for example, you have some other commodities, you don't just sell a newspaper, you also do sell other magazines, okay? So is it possible that maybe the profit I make on magazines is higher than what I make on the newspaper? Okay. Should I reduce my investment in the newspaper and concentrate more towards the magazines? Okay. So we may want to consider, okay, those things. Okay. If I was to stop newspapers, what would happen to the company, to the total profit of my enterprise? Okay. Because you have to consider in totality. Okay, you don't just look things in boxes. You have to look at them in totality. Okay, because maybe the one who buy a newspaper, the customer who buy the newspaper. Okay, they buy the newspaper as they can't buy the magazines. Okay, it's an example. Okay, so maybe even if you are to discontinue the newspaper, they still come and buy the magazines. Okay, or maybe the customer who come to buy the magazines, they first don't come because of magazines. They come to buy the newspaper. Along the way, they find that this magazine is good for us. Okay, as a consumer, as a customer, I can buy both of them. Okay, which means therefore, if you discontinue the newspaper, then you may not have a market for the magazines. Okay, so consider therefore what is going to be the impact of us. For example, okay, once you know the selling price, once you know the cost you're incurring, okay, what we can solve, we make a decision. Okay, should we increase production, decrease production, okay, and such things. Okay, that is based on you knowing the selling price and of course you knowing the cost you've been carrying on each of the product you'll be offering to the market. Okay, you make a decision: should I continue, discontinue, increase production, decrease production? Okay, so all those are decisions you will need to make based on knowing the price and knowing the cost. Next, number 3 is about planning and budgeting. Okay, maybe you may want to consider that currently the enterprise, okay, we sell the newspaper on the streets, okay, which might not be the best way for us to attract other customers. So what do you do going forward? Okay, maybe the business can say, hey, let's try to launch an online platform where you can sell these magazines, where you can sell these newspapers. Okay, that's an investment that you need to make. You plan for it, you budget for it. Okay, if maybe the idea of having an online platform is going to be, is it beneficial? Okay, is it going to lead to an increase in the company revenues? Okay, is the company still going to increase? If it will, okay, then the next thing is that, okay, by how much is it going to be? Okay, and by how, what's the profit I'm going to make out of this business? Okay, is the cost going to justify the profit I'm receiving? Because you can make a profit, but the cost you're incurring is too much. Okay, so is the cost going to be justified by the profit you're making? Okay, as well as since this investment might cost a lot of money, okay, you plan for it. When do we intend to start off this particular production? What's the cost of the investment? Do we have the money? Okay, where is the money going to come from if we don't have enough money? Okay, it's about planning and budgeting for these future activities. Maybe in case you don't want to increase, for example, the production, or we don't want to launch a new market altogether. Okay, clear? The next bit is controlling. Okay, now if, for example, in step number 3, okay, you did plan. Okay,
Excuse.
the question.
No, I'm saying like your screen is blurry.
Wow. Okay. Let's see, be okay. Is it the case to all of you? I don't know. I'm trying. Hannah, how is my screen from your end?
It's okay.
Wow. Okay. Moses, how is the screen from your end? Moses, how is the screen from your end? Is Moses in class or what?
It's very clear, sir.
It's clear. Okay. 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 Wow. Okay. I'm not sure who was asking. Okay. Check your internet. Maybe it has. Okay. Let's check your internet. But let me see if I can help out. And let me try to expand. Okay. I hope that will help out. Who was it? Is it, how is the screen now? I don't know who, there's someone was asking, saying the screen is also clear.
It's
Jenga, how is it now?
better.
It's better.
It's better.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So in step number 4, okay, is about controlling. Okay, as I was mentioning, that at the end of the day, okay, in step number 3 is about planning and budgeting. Okay, which of course definitely you don't need to do as a business. However, don't forget, okay, you may have made a decision. Let's expand our operation. Let us be producing not just Omo, but you make a variant of Omo. Okay, assume that you can want to make a variant. You as Unilever, you want to make a variant of Omo. Okay, so at the point of making the decision, there was some forecast. Okay, there were some things that you are anticipating. That this is the amount of revenue I'm going to make from the sale of this new Omo I want to launch. Okay. Okay, so 1 or 2 years later, okay, 1 or 2 years later, you may not actualize what was in quote your dream. Okay, the forecast revenues, the forecast costs are too high compared to what they were as the point of planning. Okay, now what do you know? You come back now, control how the try to check. Okay, what would be costing, for example, this variation. Okay, as at year 2020, the point I was investing, I had anticipated by the year 2021 to have a revenue of 10 million. In year 2021, I have only 8 million. So I'm short of 2 million. Okay. Now, what do I do to ensure that going forward, I will be actualizing what I was anticipating to receive, my forecast values, my forecast figures? Okay. That's a matter of controlling. Okay. Could I be, for example, be having or be in quote, maybe paying my employees a bit too high? Okay. So that I can't sustain this. Okay. So make a decision also. Try to control. Is just chances that maybe the employees are too idle. Okay. Don't forget, even if the employee is idle, you still pay them. Okay. What do I do to ensure I maximize on the resource on my disposal? Okay. Could there be a chance that maybe the wastages, okay, the materials being wasted, okay, is too high? Okay. There's so much losses along the line of production that that's why the cost is increasing. What can we do to ensure that we don't incur these losses going forward? Okay. Now that's therefore step number 4. Okay. Control resources and cost of production is possible if we know what the quantities and the costs ought to be. Okay. If costs are higher, or if more time is needed to make the cost units than what was expected, then so could definitely need more investigation. Okay, I think I mentioned that, trying to investigate the variance. Okay, the sale was meant to be 10 million. Okay, now you only have 8 million. Why are we short of 2 million? Okay, the cost of labor, as for what was our focus, we are meant to incur a cost of, let's say, 5 million per year. The actual cost we incurred was 6 million. Why do we have a cost greater than what was our expected? What can we do, okay, going forward to ensure we stick to the plan, okay, in quote. Okay. Of course, the last point is more towards the reporting. Okay, don't forget, at the end of the day, okay, the business doesn't belong to the business belongs to shareholders. So definitely, you have to do what called the report of the results of how business has been doing. Okay. Of course, you have to, in quote, present how the company, how the project, how the product has been performing to the relevant authority. And that's included for the management, okay, include the shareholders, the owner of the business, okay, for them definitely to make a decision as to what should you do, okay. For example, if maybe, even if controls have been put in place, okay, it is not possible for the company to actualize what was their forecast, what was in quote their dream, then you present this, you report back to the management, hey, even if at the point of our planning step, okay, we were over optimistic, okay, then what do we do? Should we continue with this product or not? Okay. That's the decision can be done under the reporting step. Okay. Report the results of the business, you guys, are knowing the cost incurred, the value of the inventory of the manufactured good. Okay. That's it. That's the case of the reporting. Now, cost classification. Okay, cost classification. Okay, I mentioned this topic is divided into 3. Okay, cost unit classification, cost classification, and you have profit reporting. Okay, now classification is simply grouping. Okay, trying to put the cost into their unique groups. Okay, not so unique, but into groups. Okay. Sorry. Someone was speaking. Okay. When it comes to the cost classification, it's put the cost in their own classes. Okay. For example, okay, We can classify costs into a number of categories, which I think we could mention. One of them is either direct or indirect, okay, fixed or variable, okay, production, non-production, avoidable, non-avoidable. So there's so many ways you can be able to group costs on, okay, depending on the nature, on how the cost behave, okay. It's more towards actually the behavior, okay. It's more towards the behavior of the cost, okay. How does the cost behave, okay? So the classification is more based towards, just a minute. Okay, there's no problem here. Okay. Sure. Is there someone asking a question? Or Marvin, are you asking a question?
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay, so as I mentioned, the grouping of costs is based on a number of things. Okay, are they controllable costs? Okay, it's more towards the behavior of the cost. Okay, how does the cost behave? Okay, either based on increase of units you're producing, then you observe how the cost be like. Okay, if we increase the units we are producing, okay, from 10 units per day to 1,000 units per day. Okay, what happens to the cost? Does it increase or remain constant? Okay, if it increase, then that can be a variable cost. If the cost does not depend on what you're producing, the number you're producing, then that can be fixed. Like in the case of rent, okay, whether you're going to if you have a factory, whether you're going to produce 10 units in the factory, okay, the rent you pay per month is the same. It doesn't matter whether they produce more units or less units, okay. The rent you pay remain the same, okay. That's therefore a fixed cost. Okay. In the case of the cost we call referred to as the direct costs. Okay. Now these are costs that when it comes to the production of the unit, they're traceable directly to the commodity. Okay. That means, therefore, for example, okay, if we are not making this or more, okay, these costs would not have been incurred. Okay. The cost of buying, for example, the oil, okay, the whatever oil it is you normally use, okay. The cost of buying the oil that is used as an ingredient to make the omo, don't forget you don't have paid for it if you're not making the omo. Therefore, the cost of the oil used in making the omo becomes therefore a direct cost, okay. The cost supervisor, okay, that's in case this when it comes to production of omo, we do have supervisors along the way, okay, who do supervise how the process is being done, okay. Now, the salary you pay to the supervisor, okay, who is involved in supervising not just Omo, okay, but other different brand, okay. Now, that's therefore the cost is an indirect cost, okay, because you're not incurring that cost because you're making Omo, okay. The supervisor is paid irrespective whether you make the Omo or not, okay. Therefore, can afford an indirect cost, okay. An example question here. Let me know the answer. This question should have come a bit earlier, but either way, let's do it now. Hello, what's the answer? Talu.
Yes.
What's the answer?
Let me analyze the question.
Okay. Jenga. Jenga, your hands seem to be up.
Yes. C, the supervisor of the assembly department.
Okay. Okay. From Jenga says it's C. It. Joshua.
Yes,
Yes. How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay. What's your answer?
I think it's C, the supervisor
C.
from the department. Yeah.
C.
Yes.
Okay. You're too far from the mic. We can't hear well. Okay. Okay, C from Joshua. J.
No, I've said C.
You say C. Okay, great. Okay. C. J.
Yes.
Mm, what's your answer? J.
Not
What's your?
sure.
You're not sure. Don't worry, in case you're not
Yeah.
sure. Don't get to. You can't leave a question and answer it even in the main exam. You have to answer that question.
B.
B for boy. Okay, that's B for boy from J. Okay. Moses.
I believe it is B as well.
His name is B.
Yeah, B for boy.
Okay. Hirani.
Sir, B.
B for boy. Okay, let's read together. Yes, Talu, you've done it.
I also think it's B.
Okay, let's do it together. This company makes furniture, which makes chairs, tables, and beds. There are these is of production. Okay, we are cutting, assembly, and finishing. Which of the following costs will be classified as a cost unit for the company? I mentioned that one of easiest way of trying to trace or determine, okay, what is a cost unit is by trying to evaluate, okay. Can we be able to charge a customer, okay? Now let me try to pick all the answers, okay. A, cutting machine. In short, what we're trying to, if you choose A, what we're trying to say is that it is possible to quote or tell the customer, hey, come over and the cost you have incurred in cutting in the cutting machine, okay, is equal to 10,000. Okay, so pay us 10,000 because we did use cutting machine in making the commodity. Is that the correct state, or is it an absurd way of trying to charge a customer?
I think that's correct, sir.
Okay, let's put it in reality. You are a company that makes furniture. Now, is a customer going to be in quote bothered by the amount of time the chair, the bed, or the table took, and in the cutting machine?
No, sir.
No, he's not going to be bothered. Okay, even when you're going to be doing the quotation, okay, you're selling these tables and chairs and beds, okay, when you're going to be doing the quotation, is there anywhere you're going to see maybe a cost for cutting machine?
No.
No. The same applies to assembly, okay. It doesn't matter to take how long it is going to take. At the end of the day, the customer, there's nowhere in the quotation, okay, there's nowhere in the price will it appear, okay, this is the amount of time that this table took in the assembly. The same applies even in finishing, okay, that I use the type of paint, this is the cost I incurred when it would appear. So neither is cutting, assembly, or finishing. It's for sure, definitely, process the company is going to be incurring. Okay, all these process they do incur cost, but as per se, they're not yet a cost unit. Okay, maybe they can be a cost unit if you, as a company that is making furniture, you do have outside people who come with their maybe timber for cutting only. Okay, so you have a good cut machine. So the people come, they bring, okay, other customer comes, they bring their timbers. You cut them and you charge them based on you cutting for them. I don't know whether it's clear. You're not, as per se, maybe not involved in making the chairs, but you do have a cutting machine, okay? You do have an assembly machine, you do have a finishing machine, okay? And the customer, they do come, okay, asking for you to provide them maybe other manufacturers, okay, where they come with the timbers and you want to cut for them, okay, you do assembly for them, okay, so you charge them for cutting, you charge them for assembly, you charge them for finishing, okay, that is possible, okay. In short, you're not more or less involved in making of chairs. So your main business, okay, you have this machine that perform cutting, another machine that performs assembly, another machine that is doing finishing, okay. So I'm trying to be as real as possible, okay, the reality on the ground, okay. So unless that is your operation, your main business, that you're going to have people who come with their timbers, for example, you charge them for cutting those timber, okay. Then other customer come for assembly, you assemble for them, you charge them for the assembly, other come for finishing, you charge them for finishing, then there's no way those three can be cost unit unless that is your main business. But for this company, they are manufacturing chairs, tables, and beds. So they're not involved in along their main work is to give the final commodity, not to cut, not to assemble. The main business is not about cutting, not about assembly, not about finishing. The main business is more towards the chairs, making of tables, making of beds. But for them to get there, they must do the cutting, they must do the assembly, they must do the finishing. However, that's not the cost unit. Now, having said that, what's the answer? Well, I think I've given the answer.
C.
All three machines.
Sorry?
B.
B for boy.
D. D for
B.
dog.
Or B for boy.
Oh, a chair.
Boy or dog? Okay.
Dog.
D.
The answer is D. The answer is D. Okay. And that's how you tell the customer. The customer doesn't care the cutting, the assembly, the finishing. Do you have a chair? Yes, this is a chair I have. Do you have a table? This is a table I have. How much do you charge me? This is how much I'll be charging you. That is it. And I think I gave the example of the hospital. Okay. How do you charge your customer? Based on how many nights do you stay here? You're staying here 10 nights. How much the cost per night is 2,500. Therefore, the cost for the number of days I've spent here is 10 nights times 2,500 per night. So as mentioned, the best way of trying to identify a cost unit is how do you charge the customer, okay? What are the basis of charging the customer? That's when you can say that you have a cost unit, okay? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's go back to our cost classification because this question ought to have come a bit earlier, either way. So when it comes to the cost grouping, okay, we group the cost based on a number of things. One of the key way we group the cost is based on their behavior, okay? Simply observing, okay, how is the cost going to behave if, for example, we were to increase the number of units you're producing, okay? If you produce 10 more units, how does the cost behave, okay? If yesterday, okay, the company was not operating, okay, does the rent decrease because you're not operating yesterday? It doesn't decrease, okay? That implies therefore that can be therefore a fixed cost, okay? But in case you produce more OMO products, you produce more of OMO units, then of course you consume more raw material. Therefore, the cost of raw material becomes, for example, a variable cost. How does the cost behave, okay, maybe across the number of units you're producing, okay? The next thing is on location, okay? For example, costs incurred in the factory are relevant to working out the cost of production, or the costs that are being incurred in the head office, okay? Now, the costs that are being incurred in the factory, they're called factory costs, okay, or factory overhead, okay? Now, there's some other costs that might be incurred elsewhere, for example, incurred by the head office, okay? There's the cost of the salaries of the CEO, finance director, okay, market directors, they may be based in head office, okay? However, okay, there are still costs that need to be incurred. There are costs that have been incurred, okay? However, they might not be, for example, in quote, relevant, okay, to making of the products, okay? However, there's still costs, okay? Okay, so we can say therefore, we can have, for example, factory overhead and, okay, other overheads, okay? For example, administration overhead cost, okay? Based on the location, where are they incurred? Of course, I think it's on function. We can classify based on function. What would be the function is that what was the purpose? That's the term to use. What was the purpose? Okay, the cost was incurred. Okay, the cost was incurred, but what purpose is that? What was the purpose that cost was intended for? Okay, was it to do the research? Okay, therefore a research cost. Was it for to market the company commodities? Therefore a marketing cost. Was it to train the employee? Okay, what was the purpose behind us incurring that cost? Okay, we call functional classification. Okay, functional classification of cost. Okay. Because we have called the person responsible for their control, okay? The person responsible for their control, okay? Now this cost, okay, who is in charge of this particular department? Because don't forget, in case you're the head of the department, the costs you do incur, okay? You are responsible for those costs, okay? Okay, that's where here we can classify whether those costs are, for example, controllable or non-controllable costs, okay? Because in case you are the manager, you're going to be evaluated based on the costs you can do, for example, be able to control, okay? If there's some costs you can't be able to control, then those costs are non-controllable costs, okay, or uncontrollable costs, okay? But in case those costs are within your, it's within your power, okay, then those costs are what we call controllable costs. Of course, you can classify them based on type. Okay, you can have, for example, cost incurred for purchase of material, the material cost, cost incurred for paying of wages and salaries, labor costs, cost incurred in ensuring that fuel of the machineries. Okay, they can therefore indirect cost, production costs. Okay, costs incurred by the head office. Those are therefore non-production costs. Okay, is more towards the type. Okay, the type. Okay, don't confuse the type and the function. Okay, don't confuse the type and the function. Okay. Then are they traceable? Okay, there is the traceability. Okay, this you can have either direct or the indirect. Okay, by direct costs, those are these costs that can be traced. Okay, directly to the commodity. In short, this cost was incurred because you did make the decision, because you produce this commodity. We did buy the oil, okay, that was used to make Omo because you're making the Omo. If Omo was not there, then we could have incurred this cost. Therefore, that is a direct cost. Okay. The case of the indirect cost, okay, the cost of the supervisor, I think I mentioned that. Okay, whether there is a supervisor or not, is it possible to make the Omo? It is possible if you have the employees and you have the machine. Therefore, the cost of the supervisor is an indirect cost. Okay. So it's well enough for you to classify. Is it possible? Can we say that this cost was incurred because of making this commodity? If the cost was incurred because of the commodity we are making or the service you are providing, then that's a direct cost. If not, then that is an indirect cost. Clear? Okay. That's on that cost classification. Just give me a minute. Okay, we'll call classifying the cost. Okay, it's a bit okay. So classifying the cost based on behavior, location, function, person responsible. Okay, the type and how traceable are they? Okay. Now, when it comes to the production cost, okay, this is a table that you have to take note of, okay. When it comes to determining the cost, for example, we are incurring in making 1 kg of Omo, for example, in making 1 liter of whatever BITs, okay. So you have to take note of this for sure, okay. Definitely, when it gets to take the case of, okay, our classic example of newspaper, which you mentioned at the beginning, okay. First determine, therefore, what has been the material we have incurred so far, okay. For example, printing papers that we did acquire, ink we did acquire, okay. So therefore, the direct material cost, okay. Then labor, okay. Do you have ways you're paying, okay? You have, for example, the staff who are involved in the making of that particular newspaper, okay. The one who are in the machine itself, okay. The one who are operating the machine itself, okay. Those who do maybe, I don't know, who are used, okay, if they maybe those newspapers, okay, they are stuck in containers, okay. So the people involved in maybe having those newspapers in those containers because they're part and parcel of the direct labor, okay. Now the size of the supervisor, as I mentioned, that is called a production overhead cost, okay. So they count therefore part of Okay, this is an overhead cost. Okay, is a cost. Is a cost that was incurred because of production you're taking, because you're producing this commodity. However, it is not part and parcel of labor involved directly in the making of the commodity. Okay, and I've given an example here: the salaries you pay to the supervisors, for example. Okay. Okay. Now we have the case of called the other overhead. Okay, I would call other overhead costs. Okay. Now this other overhead case, over cost, we are given, for example, is we have a finance director is paid money. Okay, we have the CEO. Okay, they're paid money. Okay, we have the cost of electricity. Okay, that was incurred by the entire business. Okay, okay. So all those costs comes therefore part of what we call other overhead costs in themselves. Okay, they may call a non-production cost. Okay, they part of parcel of non-production costs. And again, therefore, the total give us the total cost of making the product. So this is what we call a cost cut, okay, which I would propose is spend the next 1 minute, okay, just to go through it, okay, because if you can't get this one, then you have the next few topics will be very tricky for you. Just take a note here. The cost of material, okay, and the cost of labor you have is this two combined give the total direct cost. Okay, what are the total direct cost? Okay. Also referred to as, they also refer to as the same term here. It's not that the two, it's also referred to as the prime cost. Okay, it's also referred to as the prime cost. Okay. So you see that you can classify the cost either as direct or indirect, okay? Of course, based on whether it is possible to trace the cost directly into the product or the service, okay? So you can have the cost, it has been material, labor, as well as expenses, okay? Therefore, we have the cost of, we have direct material cost and we have indirect material cost, okay? Same applies for labor and same applies to the expenses, okay? So as I mentioned, the key distinction is if it is possible for you to trace directly the cost of material, okay, to the product, then that's called for direct material cost. Okay, for example, you're making Omo. So what do you buy? You buy ingredients. The cost of one of the ingredients, for example, the perfumes that are involved in making the Omos. Okay, therefore the cost of that perfume, the cost of the oil used in making the Omo, because therefore direct material cost. Okay, the cost you incur. Okay, don't forget this machine. Okay, it may be consuming electricity. It may be consuming diesel, for example. Okay, so the cost of the diesel, you can't trace the cost of diesel used in running this machine directly to the unit, to the OMO. You can't. Okay. Therefore, the cost of the diesel, cost of the fuel, okay, become part therefore indirect material. It is tangible. Okay. It is material because you can be able to touch it. Okay. Okay. If it's not tangible, there's I don't know. That's not a material. Okay. Because part of the expenses. Okay. Okay. Therefore, direct and indirect material costs. Then labor, we can measure that already. Okay. The cost of, for example, the workers involved in making the Omo, the one who are operating the machine, the one who are, I don't know, determining the ingredients to be put in, okay? That's the kind of part and parcel of the direct labor cost. The supervisor, okay, is not as per se involved directly, okay, into the making of the Omo, okay, for example, okay? Therefore, the salary that is paid to the supervisor, therefore, become therefore an indirect cost, indirect, therefore, labor cost, okay? So this is labor because this is manpower. You're paying because of the manpower. Because you have the case of therefore direct expenses and also have the case of direct expenses. Okay, they're not material, they're not labor. Okay, but the costs that are incurred along the way. Okay, I'm trying to think of an example. I'll get an example along the way. Okay, I'll get an example along the way. Okay. Another key distinction between those two, the direct costs and the indirect costs. Okay, direct costs, and you have the case of the indirect costs. Okay, question? Okay, no question. And I think you're going to go through this one already together. And take a minute to go through it. Okay, I hope you go through it. Question? Okay, no question. The factory cost, you also have called the indirect cost. I think I already mentioned that, or the so-called the factory cost. Okay, and of course, definitely we classify them same way. Okay, we have case of direct material, we have indirect material, we have indirect labor, and of course we have indirect expenses here. Okay, and actually here you have an example. This is what I was looking for, an example of an indirect expense: heating and lighting for the factory. Okay, well, the idea is that you can't be able to trace directly to the unit that is being produced. Okay, you can't say that this is the cost of electricity that was consumed in the making of 1 kg of omo. Okay, you see, it's a bit absurd. Okay, that's why therefore you say that they call therefore an indirect expense. And let's go through it. Okay, question on the indirect cost. Okay, so no cost, no question. We can also classify costs on based on whether involved in manufacturing or they are called the non-manufacturing overhead. Okay, so I think we mentioned already that the only thing we need to include when it comes to getting the product cost. Okay, let me just refer back to the cost card. Okay, just for the sake of reference. Okay, the only thing we include in the cost card when getting the total cost of the product. Okay, is the direct material, like you mentioned, okay, labor, okay, and the production overhead, the factory cost, okay, nothing else, okay. The non-manufacturing costs or overhead, okay, are not included, okay. And I give you an example, okay. The pay that is made to the CEO, the pay that is made to the finance director, okay, we don't include when it comes to getting the total cost of the product. Why? Because these are not people involved in the actual production, okay. The cost of the supervisor may be included, okay, when getting the cost of the product. However, okay, the cost of the non-production staff members, okay, should not be included, for example, okay. The office rent, okay, the rent you pay for, the rent that is paid for the factory, okay, then that can be included in the product cost as an overhead, okay. However, the rent that is incurred in the head office, in the offices, okay, should not be included as part of the product cost, okay. The key distinction between manufacturing overheads and the non-manufacturing overheads, okay. they're not included in the production cost of the goods or for inventory valuation purposes, which of course we shall do this later on. Okay, in topic number 5 going forward. An important portion of these overheads is sometimes included the cost cards so that an appropriate price can be set. Okay, so based on the costing method we shall be using, on the profit method we shall be using. Okay, as I mentioned, we use 2 methods. The marginal costing method, which does not include at all the manufacturing overhead as part of the product cost. Okay, they don't include it. Okay, however, we can also have a case called the absorption cost method, where sometimes we have a case where the non-manufactured overhead are absorbed, okay, into when determining, okay, the cost of the products. Okay, in short, therefore, some allocation is done, okay, when it comes to getting the product cost, okay. But most of the time, we don't use the absorption costing method, okay, which I will discuss later on. When it comes to getting the product cost, okay, we most time use the marginal costing method, okay, where we don't include the non-manufacturing overhead as part and parcel of the product cost. Okay, examples include the account salary. Okay, these are non-production staff members. Okay, salaries of the CEO. Okay, finance director. Okay, so all those are more or less not going to be included in the part as part and parcel of the product cost. Okay, the rent for the office. Okay, this is a non-manufacturing overhead. But the rent for the factory is a factory overhead. Okay, and is included when analyzing the product cost. Okay, but the rent for the office is a non-production cost, a non-manufacturing overhead cost. Therefore, we don't include when doing the total cost of the products. Clear? Question? Okay, so there will be no question. And this, don't forget the topic going forward. Okay, the topic spill into each other. Okay, so in case you don't understand some concepts at the beginning, then you might find them tricky going forward. Okay, so if you're not so sure, ask, because the next topic we shall be building up on what you're learning today. Okay, so if you're not so sure, do not hesitate to ask questions. Ask. That's why you are in class. Okay. So an example of a question. Yes, Jenga, what's the answer?
I think C, wages for factory manager.
So D or C?
D.
Or D. Okay, from Jenga is D. Marvin? Marvin? Marvin, we can't hear you.
Should I read the question?
Sorry?
Should I read the question?
No. What's the answer? What's your answer for this question?
A minute internalize.
Okay. Make it quick.
Okay.
Ishmael, from your side. Ishmael.
D.
D for dog.
Mm.
Yes, great. And of course, the answer is D. Okay. The answer is D. The wages for the factory manager, don't forget, this is an indirect labor cost. Okay. And let's begin with A. What is A? Hannah, how do you classify A?
It's a direct material.
Yes, locate A is a direct material. Okay, great. How do we classify B? This is Moses. Moses, how do we classify B? Moses is not in class. Okay. Alexander.
Yes, sir.
How do you classify B?
B is a non-manufacturing overhead.
Are you sure about that? Alexander. Aisha, do you concur with Alexander? Aisha. Aisha, we can't hear you.
I'm not sure.
Actually, I think it's an indirect cost. I think it's an indirect cost.
Okay, true, it's a direct cost, but how do you classify it? Material, labor, expense?
Indirect expenses. It's an indirect expense.
Okay, this is an indirect expense. Okay, this is an indirect expense. Okay, indirect expense. Great. How do we classify C? This is Yvonne. How do we classify C? Yvonne, how do you classify C?
Can I say indirect materials?
C. Go through. This is wages. This is wages. So it can't be material. Yvonne. Talu.
Is it direct labor?
Yes, it is. Get wages paid to the machine operators. Okay, this is direct labor cost. Yes, it is. Okay, great. Of course, we have D, therefore B now, indirect labor cost. What about the salaries to the CEO? The salary that has been paid to the CEO. Hamida. Hamida. Hey, Hamida, you're not in class.
Teacher, I think the answer is D.
Yeah, the answer is D. I agree, but I'm asking. Let's say paid CEO. How is it classified? Hamida. Hey. Moses.
So I had a question.
No, first answer my question.
D as well. I think the answer is D.
The question I'm asking here, in case not in this question, I'm asking how will you this company, this kind of company, it must be having a finance director, okay, or a CEO, okay. Therefore, the pay that is made to the CEO, how is it classified?
That was my question. I was going to say cost of production.
No, it can't be. It can't be. It cannot be. And so that's your question. Okay, let's see where they can. Which day? So which have an answer?
Is it indirect labor?
Is it indirect labor? Okay, it may not be indirect labor because the CEO, okay, is not involved anywhere in the production. How is it classified? J. J.
Yes.
Yes. How do you classify the pay to the CEO?
Sorry.
How do we classify the pay to the CEO or the finance director? Okay. Hey, no idea, Jay.
No.
Hey, okay. Marvin.
Can you say direct expenses?
Expenses. It can't be direct expenses because the CEO, in the case of direct expenses, okay, these are costs you've been carrying that are directly involved in the making of the commodity. The CEO is not going to be involved in that, isn't it? The CEO is not going to actually be involved in the making of the commodity, in the making of the omo. He is not going to be involved. So he's not going to be, for sure. Whitney?
Non-manufacturing.
Yes, this is non-manufacturing overhead cost. Okay, and I think I gave that example, you guys. Okay, this is a non-manufacturing overhead cost. Okay, it's a non-manufacturing overhead cost. Okay, the pay to the CEO. Okay. Question, Moses, I think that's what. Have I answered your question, Moses? I don't know. You had a question, Moses.
Yes, you have.
Okay, great. Okay. But you can classify costs based on the behavior, called the behavior patterns. How does the cost changes, okay, with changes in the number we are producing, okay? If we produce more, how does the cost behave? If we decrease the units we are producing, how does the cost behave? An example, the rent you pay for the factory, okay? If we produce more, does the cost increase or decrease? It remains constant, okay? If you increase the number you are producing, do you employ more laborers? Of course you do, okay? You have to have more laborers in case you intend to produce more units, okay? If you intend to produce more or more, what do you have to do? You have to buy more of the ingredients, the material, the direct material, okay? Therefore, those costs therefore all referred to as they are part and parcel of the variable cost. They vary with production. They are variable costs. Okay. Now, the other costs that remain constant, irrespective of the numbers we are producing, can therefore refer to as the fixed cost. Okay. Anyway, the cost behavior patterns demonstrate the way in which the costs are affected by the change in the level of activity. Okay, by I mean the units of production. Okay, so that's what we call the units of production. What happens to the cost in case the number we are producing, okay, are increasing? What we call the units of production. Okay, does the cost increase? Does it decrease? Does it remain constant? Okay, so it's simply trying to observe the behavior based on the level of the activity. Okay, it's the way that cost changes as the level of activity changes. Okay, as we produce more or less. Okay, observing what happens to the cost. Does it change or does it remain constant? Okay, so the first classification is called the variable cost. Okay, and as I mentioned, okay, the variable cost is going to be increasing as we produce more units. Okay, that means therefore the cost is in direct proportion to the number of units we are producing. Okay, if we produce more of Omo, it means we are consuming more of the ingredients. Okay, whatever makes up the Omo. Okay, if you're consuming, if you're making more units of Omo, that means therefore more manpower was put in producing those Omos. Okay, if you're producing more of Omo, it means more of electricity was consumed by the machine since the machine was running more. Okay, so that we therefore call a variable cost. Okay, it varies, the cost that varies with in line with the numbers we are producing, in line with the numbers that we are producing. Okay. If the cost is going to, if for example, okay, we simply observe what is the cost. Okay, let's see an example. Okay, this is day one. Okay, this is day two of production. Okay, cost of raw material, RM, raw material. If the cost for material was, let's say, 20 units, okay, and here was $20, let's say $20, the cost for raw material was $20. The units we are producing then, okay, were two. Okay, there were 2 units. If in day 2 we produce 4 units, then for sure you can say that the cost we have incurred so far is therefore equal to $40 as per day 2. Okay, it is going to be increasing in line with the numbers that you are producing, in line with the number of units that we are producing. Okay, that's what we refer to as the variable cost. Okay, example: the cost of raw material. Okay, the cost of labor. Okay, the number of employees you are engaging in production. Okay. The sales commission, by the way, okay, if you do pay your sales agents, okay, based on a commission, okay, there's no fixed, but it's purely commission based, okay. If they sell 1 unit, okay, 1 unit of sale, okay, you may pay them, let's say, 2% of the selling price, okay. Selling price being, let's say, $100, you pay the firm $2 to them, okay. Now, in case they sell 2 units, okay, you pay them $4, okay. Therefore, you can see, therefore, the amount you're paying to them, okay, is increasing in line with the numbers or units that they are able to sell. Okay, as therefore called a variable cost. It will be increasing in line with the number of units that you're producing. Okay, it will be decreasing in line with the numbers that are decreasing. Okay, for example, this is simply a graph. Okay, illustrating how the costs behave across time. Okay. Now, don't forget, as I mentioned, if the units is increasing, if the units are increasing, okay, the more you produce, the more costs that will be incurring. Okay. However, okay, don't forget the variable cost per unit. Okay, we call variable cost per unit. Okay, the cost of material, the commission. Let me give you an example. Like this commission here. Okay, the commission here, this commission here remain fixed. Okay, because selling price is fixed, the discount, the commission is the same. Okay, the commission remain the same. Okay, it is increasing. The total commission is one that is increasing as we increase the number of sales units the agent is making. Okay, however, the variable cost, the commission per unit, remain constant, irrespective of the number that you're selling. Okay, therefore, the variable cost per unit. Let me just draw another simple graph here. Okay, this being units, and this being variable cost per unit, variable cost per unit. Therefore, it will remain constant irrespective of the units we're selling. So for example, this can be like our $2. Okay, the commission paid per unit remain the same irrespective of the numbers that this particular person is going to sell, for example. Okay. Therefore, variable cost per unit is encoded like a fixed cost. Okay. It is not going to vary. Okay. Every unit that this person sells, okay, they shall be receiving $2. Okay. Therefore, it's the fixed. Okay. It is irrespective of the number of units that you're making. However, the total variable cost, the total commission will be increasing based on the number of units that this person will be selling. Is that clear? Because you can be given those two graphs, okay, or you're given one of them, okay. You may determine, therefore, is this cost that is the cost illustrated by the graph above, okay, is it a variable cost or a fixed cost, okay? You have to get to know of these two, okay, these two graphs. The cost per unit, is fixed, okay, like here. However, the total cost is increasing in line with the number of units that we are selling. Is it clear? Question? Okay, that's on the variable cost, okay? That's on the variable cost, okay? In case there's no other question, therefore, I guess we can meet next week, okay? And now from next week, we shall start doing our assessments, okay? Now you've done almost like 4 topics, okay? So we start doing our assessment to evaluate how you've been able to understand the concepts, okay? So from next week, we shall start off with our multiple choice questions on the e-learning. So ensure you can be able to access the e-learning, okay? Because that's where the question will be. Okay, great. Then we can end the class there and we meet next week. Don't forget the class on Friday, okay, was the one that was shifted to Wednesday. Okay, so tomorrow we don't meet. We meet on Tuesday of next week. Okay, enjoy your remaining part of the week and the weekend, and see you next week.